can't relate to the issues. I feel like that should never be in a book review. But because white liberals suffer from white guilt, they rate it so high to soothe themselves. Yeah, racism. Lovely. I feel like a lot of people are going to hate me after watching this video. Please don't leave a hate comment. If you don't like, don't watch, period. Hi, Editing Jess here. I wanted to quickly jump in and really make it abundantly clear. This video is just for fun. I am not trying to make fun of people's reviews. I'm just reviewing them for your entertainment, to see my reaction. I think it's kind of fun. I hope you'll like it. I've seen other creators do it, so it's all lighthearted and fun. You are obviously allowed to have your own opinions about books, and I'm allowed to disagree with them. We all can have our own opinions. So I just really want to make that clear. This is for pure entertainment, just to see my reactions, and I'm not poking fun at any individual. I don't even know who these reviews are. I'm just, trying to have a good laugh, during this crazy holiday season. Okay, back to the video. I feel like Books with Chloe, with all this jewelry on, I feel like I'm maybe too far away and you can't see it, but I feel blinging. It's Anna Louisa, in case you were interested. They're not sponsoring the video, but I still feel gorgeous. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Nicole Dickerson, aka J&D, and welcome back to another video. So, first of all, I'm so sorry I haven't uploaded in a week. I know, I haven't done that for a while. It's pretty bad. I missed my Tuesday and Friday upload, and the week before I ended up uploading Wednesday and Friday. So, in case you're interested, in case you're a frequent watcher of mine, I apologize for leaving you hanging. I won't do that again, hopefully in the near future. But today I thought it'd be really fun to kind of wrap the year up with a replying to 1-star ratings of my favorite books. So I have 4 books here, and if, again, you watch my videos a lot, you will know these books very well, if I could speak English. All-time favorites. Also, all 4 of these authors are auto-by authors, and we're going to be diving into Goodreads and reading all the 1-star reviews for them. Gosh darn it, I'm scared, because I know, these are all POC books, so I'm a little worried about the reviews, but I bet you there's a lot of negative opinions about them. So yeah, let's dive into it. Okay, so all of these are my favorite books, so I'm not going to do them in any particular order, but if you know my channel, you know this is my favorite all-time book, and it is Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson, and I feel like there's a lot of mixed reviews about this, and I can totally see why. I just think I read it in a really good time in my life where the character and I's issues really aligned, but let's dive into Goodreads and see what all the fuss is about. Comment down below, do you read Goodreads ratings before buying a book? I'm curious. I think I do that when I want to buy a book from a new author. Let me know down below. Do you check Goodreads? Do you check Amazon? Do you read reviews, or do you just buy it? I'm very interested to see. So let's see. 1-star ratings, and I won't be putting their comment on the screen, or at least I'll blur out their name because I don't want to shade people. I probably don't even know who these individuals are, but the first comment I see here says, "A waste of time, 1 star," and it has 4 likes. It is not a waste of time, for sure. I should give you a synopsis first before reading these reviews. Basically, this is a story following Jade, who has a scholarship to go to a private high school. She has a lot of interesting relationships with friends and talking about race and privilege and poverty. And she also feels like a lot of the opportunities she's given are because of her need base and not because she's earned a trip abroad or whatever it may be. She also is really interested in Spanish, so there's a lot of fun quotes because she's learning Spanish and she really wants to study abroad soon. There's a lot of good things. There's a mentorship program in here, a lot of fun stuff. If you haven't read this book yet and you're subscribed to my channel, you're a fake fan. Let's just say it. I'm kidding. Eventually, I hope you read it, and it is not a waste of time, might I add. This person, you're getting to see someone else's perspective, but I can see why maybe some people don't like it, but look, this person actually wrote a lot. Okay, so thinly characterized, coincidental execution narrative that ruins the chance of exploring a coming of age outside. Oh, this is a lot. Outsider looking in growth tale, the tunnel vision, historically inconsiderate. Wow, this is a lot. I think I'm going to pop it up on the screen. John Green may have had his novel on his mind for a year post-publishing, but I won't recall anything or recollect anything in these coming of days. Lack of any forced romance is quite welcome. Compliment, insightful lines sprinkled through. To paraphrase one of the novel's characters, shows you can learn these from otherwise imperfect people. Still, those are hardly enough to save this tree from not bearing desirable fruit. A shame. That was a lot for a 1-star rating. It's like, dude, you sure? You had a lot to say about it. Thinly characterized. I could say that a lot of the characters around Jade weren't explored, so I can see why some people didn't like that. But at the same time, I feel like that's the point, is that Jade isn't like totally aware of what everyone else is going through and learning to kind of explore her like worldview. But at the same time, she's the definite focus of this book. We explore her views so well, and you kind of learn that, oh, you should be more aware of people's outlooks on life and stuff. But really the story is all about her growing to accept herself and things like that. So yeah, the side characters, I can agree that the side characters aren't explored as much, and that Jade is growing throughout the book. So her from the beginning, her at the end, it's different. So maybe the person didn't like the outcome, thinking that she's maybe still thinly veiled character at the end. That's kind of harsh. Bad book. Don't read it. So boring. I disagree. I feel like if you can't tell me why you're bored throughout a story, then you're not bored, honey. Like, what makes it boring? That there's literally so much going on in the book too. So it makes me, what's boring about it? If you read this book, let me know if you were bored by it. But I feel like there's constantly stuff happening. Every chapter she's facing something or realizing something. So why are you bored, sis? What's going on? Not a fan. I can respect that. I respect all of these people's opinions, by the way. Don't get it twisted. But what makes you not a fan? Like, I feel like that's not helpful in a review to be like, not a fan. Like, was there an element that you knew you didn't like about it already? Like the fact that it talks about a lot about race and feeling a lot of racism towards her and other characters maybe not believing it. Like, did you not like that? What aspect didn't you like? Come on, critical thinkers. Okay. And then a lot of 1-stars don't have any explanation at all, which is just kind of weird. Yeah, so not helpful. And then you might be wondering, like, oh, all these reviews are probably from white people who don't like this book that's specifically like about a black woman. Well, this girl, she black and she didn't like it. So what'd she say? Let's read it. You know what grinds my gears? Ungrateful, complaining ass kids. That was this book. Not for me personally, but I would still like to read more from the author. I think this is the first or a second, because that paragraph did really explain a lot of the reasons why that person didn't like it. But this is like the first critical, I think, review, because yes, Jade complains a lot in this book because she feels she deserves more. And I think for some people who in their lives didn't have that opportunity to even complain about where they were in life, that they were just forced to deal with what was given, to be in a position to be like, I don't like what I'm receiving, is a place of privilege. So I could totally see someone being really mad about how ungrateful Jade can kind of sound when she's not given certain opportunities, or she's given opportunities that seem need-based. She's given opportunities, period. So I can totally see how someone would be like, this ungrateful hoe, blah, blah, blah. Can totally see that. Can totally respect that opinion. I just think it's really interesting also to see, you know, not just people who are black be oppressed and sad and like only dealing with racism, whereas she's in a place of privilege and dealing with racism. A lot of the stories you're gonna see me review are like that, because of course I'm also looking for like Black joy and like variations to the I'm Black and oppressed story. I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate me after watching this video. Please don't leave a hate comment. If you don't like, don't watch, period. But yeah, I actually really liked her critical review of this. It totally makes sense to be like, these kids came off complaining. And yeah, I could totally see how someone would see it like that. Okay, moving on to the next book. We have Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I literally came out with a review talking specifically about Dear Martin and Dear Justice, and I've also read this in a reading vlog like 2 years ago when I first read it. And I have tabs. I talk about this book a lot. If you don't know, this is a bestseller, so I feel like a lot of people will know about this book. But Martin is in high school, again, going to a private high school. And no, I didn't go to a private high school, in case you thought I connected with that. I went to a public high school. I went to a private university. Whilst going to this private university is when I read these books. So I feel like that's why I could connect with them. But yeah, I digress. He is going to a private high school. He's on the track for Ivy League, and he has this incident when he's arrested, and it was obviously a racially profiled case. They literally left him in like the in-house prison overnight, and his mom had to, or a lawyer had to get him out because they were going to charge him for something that he didn't do. Yeah, racism. Lovely. So he starts writing letters to Martin Luther King, obviously not really sending them out, but keeping a journal. And he has this Martin project, how to be more like Martin and be more optimistic and solving issues, and and it's just all about how to make life better. And it's a really heartfelt story in my opinion. And then if you're like, just why are you always reading stories that are always about people with privilege, check out Dear Justice to hear the flip side of someone who is forced into different circumstances. It's really full circle, especially for that girl specifically in the previous complaint critical review. I think Nick Stone did a really good job balancing both a place of privilege and for people who don't have that privilege but still face racial injustice. So yeah, let's get into those 1-star reviews. I'm nervous. We'll see. Of course, the one time I start filming, my camera dies. So if things have changed, that's why. My battery's a hoe, and I really need to buy a second battery. One day. Okay, now back to reading 1-star reviews of Dear Martin. And this one is kind of long, so I'll post the text here so you can read along with me. The topics that are being addressed in this are important and sadly very, very real, but this was just so terribly written. Terribly in all caps. And I don't want to feel forced to love a book just because of the sensitive, important topic. I want to love a book because it's good. P.S. The synopsis basically spoils about 60% of the book. Why would you do that? Okay, I totally think this critique and criticism is important because I feel like a lot of people will be like, I don't like this book, but it has a lot of sensitive topics about it that are important, so I feel inclined that I'm supposed to like it, which is false. You can always have your subjective personal view on a book, and that's why reviews I think are so important, because you get a better understanding of what an individual might take away from the book, because objectively the story is, that's what they market. This is the story, you might like it, and you could say it talks about race. Objectively, that's what the book is about. But you might not like the personal subjective aspects to it, like how it's written or how the story's broken down. So yes, the synopsis does really spoil a big plot point. I personally didn't mention that aspect of it because it's literally the halfway point through the book when it happens. So I could totally understand if you read the synopsis first and then got into the book, you would think that event would happen sooner, and you're just kind of waiting for it. But I feel like the terribly written thing is also a note that I'm And Nick Stone's writing is definitely not for everyone. I find it to be very comedic and lighthearted, and I really love that aspect about it, because when you're talking about serious things, I don't want to, like she said, I don't want to be inclined to only like it because it's serious. I want some joy, and there's some like romance in this book, and some goofy moments, some really weird jokes, and I think the eclecticness of Nick Stone's jokes and humor really adds a layer to the story, and not just like a serious tone. But yeah, I could see why some people may not like it. That's why I recommend, if you read Nick Stone's work and you don't like one or two of her books, you probably don't like that kind of jokative aspect of it. You'll probably like Tiffany D. Jackson better, who does have jokes and stuff, but is more like hard-hitting on the nose and doesn't give a lot of leeway for joy, which is like, a whole other thing. So that's the subjective part of the story that you may have different opinions about. But I do think this is an interesting review. Totally true about that 60% of the way through thing. That's really funny that she mentions that. We have another really long one. Wow. Okay. So busy and flat. Most of these events are totally plausible separately, but having everything happen at once, like an extremely packed after-school special with no time to digest or reference historical context, made it seem like a racial parody. Wow. I've never cringed so hard while reading something. Every page made my face sour. Ooh. And God save me from the black boy likes light-skinned white girls. Oh yeah, that was a part about, yeah. But black women don't want him to because they just angry crap. Okay, wait. That doesn't make sense, because he did like a black girl in the book. And there's actually a joke in the book, this isn't a spoiler, of him or his friend talking to to Justice, and he's telling him like, oh, I'm scared of black girls, like I've never been around many of them, like it's kind of scary. And it was like kind of presented as a joke, which I could totally see why people would be soury about it and like think it's cringy, but that's like the humor of Nick Stone. And it's factual. Like, if you grow up in a neighborhood where you don't see that many black women, and the media is like always painting them as this like aggressive, angry woman, you might be scared of them, genuinely. Like, not just black boys, but like most people might have this assumption about black women. And I think that's actually really accurate, but I could totally see why she would be sour about it, because it was not even briefly mentioned, because obviously the story is not really focused on that too much. But there is a lot going on in this book. There is a lot happening in this book. I will agree. I do think it's busy, but I think that's what also makes it really impactful, because I think all of the things that were happening in his life genuinely could have happened at the same moment, like how it was written. I feel like from personal experience that it's very likely, but to each their own. Subjectively, I could totally understand why someone might think that way. And then the last bit of this is not a well-written book, but because white liberals suffer from white guilt, they rate it so high to soothe themselves. That's aggressive. This was aggressive review. I do think it has a lot of critical aspects of it, but sometimes that just felt kind of mean. But that's just me. I could totally see why that whole aspect of, oh, you're trying to rid yourself of guilt, so you just love the story. And I find that to be the case with like The Hate You Give, especially, where it's like a lot of people just love it, and it's like you ask them why, and they're like, it talks about important things. And it's like, hey, there's more to life than that. But I don't know. To each their own. I totally respect this person's opinions. It's a little harsh. Another one says, I don't think I've ever read a book so terribly written as this one. So cold. Oh my god. These reviews are much longer than I would say Renee Watson's ones. So that's nice. These people actually felt the need to explain why they disliked the book, which is good, as one should do when you're reviewing. Oh, but they're so long, all of them. Wow. Oh, okay, wait, this one's so funny. This book is just a pure ripoff of Angie Thomas's book, The Hate You Give. I do not read this if you're looking for an actually good book. Sir, ma'am. But yeah, I think a lot of people just have an issue with the writing style, which is just, I think, how Nick Stone writes. Like, following her on Instagram and having seen her in a few live, like, events in California, she's a quirky woman. She's, like, will joke about, like, you know, farts and stuff. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I personally connect with her writing style. And it's very kind of quick in a sense too, where there's a lot happening in the moment, very plot driven. So for some people, I could totally see them thinking it's busy, whereas The Hate You Give really took its time. It's like 400 pages long, really diving into the story. Whereas for this is like under 300 pages. It's super short. I think it's like 250. So it's super short and just goes straight to the point while layering jokes and romance in it. So yeah, I feel like people were way harsher on that book than Piecing Me Together, probably because it's a bestseller and some people subjectively are like, why is this a bestseller? It's like, hey, some people like it. I really liked it, and I really like the pairing of Dear Justice with Dear Martin. Let's move on to the next book, Harbor Me by Jacqueline Woodson. She's also a best-selling author, so I imagine there's going to be a lot of negative reviews. Okay, we have this one. This book is probably the worst book I've read in a long time. It's so boring. The storyline felt pointless, and the characters are bland and uninteresting. I recommend this to nobody ever, ever, in all caps. Okay, so again, very short book. So the story, there really isn't a story to this. It's character driven, at least this specific story. Her other stories are obviously different. But this is about 7 kids, I believe it's 7 kids, who are in a special needs class. They're in middle school, and their teacher has decided that you guys should spend this time after school just talking about emotionally what you're going through. And it's a lot of emotion. It's a lot of, like, parents getting deported and having to talk about it, students who aren't going to school go missing, family issues, a white privilege versus black. And I love it because it's just such a jumble of personalities that you would normally never get. And I could see why some people might think it's boring and has no plot or story, but at the same time, you're not going into this to get like a plot, like a story arc. It's just kids coming together and sharing their perspective on life, and that's why I think it's so endearing, because it's so rare to get a book that isn't just about one person's perspective, about like being mixed and I don't know how to be mixed, or being black and being like, I don't know how to deal with being black. It's like so many layered perspectives in one. And also special needs is such a good representation. I was in special needs until middle school. I had extra classes and courses to help me because I have minor dyslexia, so it's like really struggled in English class. So it's really cool to have that representation and show that there are different kids who are in special needs and everyone comes from different backgrounds. I think it's such an important story. So it makes me really sad that people are like, it's boring. It's like, it's not supposed to be that interesting, man. You're just supposed to hear about people. And it's like barely 200 pages, 220 pages. We have another one that says 1.5. So not just a 1 star. I can understand why people like this, but it wasn't for me. Cool. I want to know why. Why? I'm wondering. Okay. We also have, I could not stay focused. Maybe I will try again at a later date. Oh, someone literally just said, Wow, that's weird. But I guess I respect that. And I'm also happy that person's going to try at a later date. I just think the writing style is different compared to most stories. So I feel like that's also what made it so special for me. I'm like, wow, this is written differently. It's unique. I think Jacqueline Woodson really takes her time every story to make each, how it's told, just special and unique. But okay, we have another comment. Let's read. It's aggressive. It says, I hated this book. I feel bad about it because I love Jacqueline Woodson on the whole. Currently don't have the energy to get through the full details up here in the review proper, but I think the handling of ability and disability is a major disappointment compared to the excellent discussion of race. Really well done audio though. The audiobook is amazing. Yeah, and her daughter is also in the audiobook too. I highly recommend. I mean,
it didn't really talk about their special needs, but also I really appreciate that, because I feel like when you layer in disability into a story, sometimes it could take the focus away, and all you hear them talk about is, I'm oppressed, or I'm behind because I'm disabled. And it's like, that's not the case. Like, sometimes you just have reading disabilities or whatever, and you go about your merry way. You learn to cope, and that's it. So yeah, the book talks a lot about race, and they are in special needs classes, but it doesn't talk about them being disabled. They just are. And I think that was really cool for me, because it's like, no, I'm not going to read a story about how I'm struggling with my dyslexia, or I'm struggling with whatever the disability may be. It's like, that's just a fact of life and moving forward. And same as, like, I'm been diabetic too, so it's like, I feel that way about a lot of things. Still waiting for a really good YA diabetic rep, where the character is just diabetic, and you know, maybe they take insulin once or twice in the book. Still waiting for that. But I think that maybe some people are looking for more representation when it comes to disability, where it's like very apparent in the story. And that's something we could talk about. Subjectively, that's what people want. But I think objectively, the book did what it was promising to do, to have different voices be present in the book. It wasn't really focused on the disability. So I can see, if you're going in for that specific thing, why you'd be let down. Let's move on to the last book, so this video isn't too long, and that is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. She's literally my favorite author ever. Okay. The Poet X basically is about a teen, Theosmata, but she's living in New York, and she is developing into a young woman, and people judge her. Adults look at her in a certain way, and her mom is telling her to cover up and to not be herself, and she wants to be a slam poet. And it's just all this fighting with her family about how she doesn't want to be practicing her religion, and how she wants to be herself and not worry about how the world is like looking at her, and how she wants to be her own person, and how she wants to romantically start getting involved with people. It covers a lot, and it's written in verse, so it's beautifully written, and I know people are going to complain about it in the reviews. We'll see. This review is so long. Okay, so I'm just going to read the first part of this because it's too long, but it's like, wow, this is just awful. What's it about? A young girl struggling with life in general. She's not into the whole church thing anymore. She's getting romantic feelings towards boys. She's really strict religious parents, etc. And she decides to write poetry to help her deal with it. Yeah, that's the story. This person thinks it's really predictable, yada yada. It is a coming of age story. I feel like, yes, a lot of coming of age stories are the same story regurgitated over and over again, where it's like finding yourself. So it's like, yeah, I could see that subjectively why people be like, I don't want that. Okay, and then quite unnecessary and kind of bored me. DNF'd after 15%. What? Oh, there's another person who DNF'd it. I ended up DNFing the book, and I rarely DNF. That's so funny. Another DNF'd. What? Why is everyone DNFing it? I want to know what is boring. Is that too much to ask? But I will say, a lot of people out here are really explaining in detail why they don't like it. So another person said, I hate reading about hateful, violent, religious people, and I don't feel like the resolve made any sense whatsoever, and I don't like the writing style. It's just felt like it could have been better, just sentences. Yeah. The poem writing style didn't make it any better. I mean, technically, I don't think putting it in verse, I think it adds a layer if you like free verse, like when it's written in verse. If you don't like verse, of course you're not gonna like this, because it's literally all in verse. I think it added a layer to it, especially as a person who likes poetry within it. Like, Theosmata is a poet, so it kind of made sense to me. But I could see why if you don't like that subjectively, you're not gonna like it. And then the resolve didn't make sense. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but technically there is no resolve in this book. You read it, and it's just realistic, and it's just, being aware of what happened and trying to move forward, which I guess a lot of people might not like, but I personally liked it because I think it's realistic. To have everything cut clean and be like, we're all good now, sis, and move forward, it's like, that's not realistic, you know what I mean? But yeah, the hateful, violent, religious people, I could see why someone might hate that. Like, if they are part of a religious group and they're not violent, they might not like that representation, because there is a lot of religious stuff in this book. But also, you have to layer in that she is, you know, part of a culture that's probably different than yours. That's the only thing, but I could totally understand why that could still upset some people. They're disappointed because of the writing style. Yep, this book is a cliche. Ow, poorly written. Ooh, I really hated the book. The theme of the book is really interesting, and I think it would be better if it wasn't all in poetry. Yeah, it didn't add up like it was supposed to, and so many questions and problems were not answered and solved. So just letting y'all know, there's no resolution in this book. It is like real life. There's real life issues that are, happen, and there's no real resolution. There's just an awareness to the issue now, which I think is just more realistic, but I could totally see why some people don't like it. And then we have all the themes discussed here are actually found in much, much better written books. Don't waste your time on this misery. Oh, then someone else said, too sexual, pornographic, amoral, couldn't relate to the narrator's conflicts, too angry, too juvenile. To be fair, I didn't finish this book. What? It is not pornographic at all. That is so... She makes out with her boyfriend occasionally, and I think they explain wanting to do it, and I think they end up doing it, but it's like, all, fade to black. Like, some kisses fade to black. Not pornographic at all. And I just feel like this person saying that she's too angry and she can't relate to the issues, I feel like that should never be in a book review. You should never say, I can't relate to the character. Obviously you can't. This is a work of fiction. Like, if you related to the character 100%, you're not. Are you fictional? So that has me heated. Okay, I think that is all the torture I need for this year. Happy Christmas Eve or happy holidays. I hope you're having a good holiday season. I hope this video made you laugh, or just you might hate me as a reviewer now. Who knows? If you made it to the end of the video, make sure to comment down. Let's do a red heart. Sounds fun. Very classic. But yeah, hope you like the kind of setup. I wanted it to be more winter festive-y. And let me know if you like it. I can film here more often. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the notification bell if you did so you don't miss my uploads. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.